I will say that just from being even in a very pleasant environment, a new environment with new people, a different bed, like I didn't have my snuggle buddy. I ate good food, all the things. I still came home and I was not myself for 4 entire days, which was really frustrating to me. So
Yeah.
it's going to be a tight turnaround. We're just going to fling this out and just
Oh, that was your plan for
yeah,
today?
oh yeah. Yeah, for another 2 weeks. I can't fall further behind
Okay.
2
No.
weeks.
How dare we?
So we can see already
Yep.
how, like, initially it was like bang, bang, bang. We released 3 episodes. I keep saying we, but I want you to know it's a modest we. Frank sits here and is charming and is wonderful and is insightful, and I do everything else
It's
because it's
mostly
part of
her.
my job.
I'm just a
So,
co-host,
yeah.
okay? Like, I know I steal a show. I really do.
So, anyway,
Your hair's looking great
so it
today.
was,
I
thank
just
you,
have to say
darling.
that.
Thank
It's
you.
so great.
So it was easy to, well, easy, right? When I was like brand new, I 3 episodes right off the boot, totally on it, did all the branding, all the everything, and now we're like, this is episode 9, and I'm like struggling to cross the finish line to like get it done on time. It's not that I like I'm still enjoying it, but like the activity in my business and in like our family life has shifted a little bit. So it is
Hmm.
it is challenging to do things that are self-motivated on a consistent basis without like a day trigger or an event trigger or whatever, because I have to be flexible with you in order to record. So,
Because I'm so inflexible.
no, it's because
I'm not. I don't. I'm really. I just physically not
not
flexible.
physically,
You're the
well,
one with hypermobility.
not that bad. Anyway, so here we are. We're doing it. We are showing up,
Hmm.
and we're gonna do a special little episode at the suggestion of a friend. We're gonna talk about some neurodivergent friendly travel tips today.
Ooh.
Most of these are just cautions because, as we know, we can't really control everything with travel environments, especially when you're flying, and especially when you're going off on to go spend time with other people. I actually just took a trip, and um, it took me 4 full days just to behave like myself again after a 5-day trip where I had no children. I uh, I struggled upon returning so hard.
Yeah. Yeah. It was. Yeah. As your husband and good friend.
Mhm.
Yeah. It took you a little bit, but I would say, unlike other trips, there was more focus on actually trying to get yourself like um steady when you got
Hmm.
here.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of times, in the past, I saw you like just struggle and like do the things, but struggling for a lot longer,
Yes.
right? But
Yeah.
masking how you were doing
Hmm.
for that time.
Yeah. So we're gonna start off by saying that understanding yourself and knowing how you respond to certain things is good, but it's not necessarily going to protect you from any kind of fallout. It will protect you from some of the fallout, and it may protect you as you recover. You may recover faster if you can have the self control to sit still when you're actually not doing good yet. Or just like the ability, like, especially when we plan like away vacations, sometimes it's like, okay, well, I planned a buffer day, but if you're still not doing great day 2 or day 3,
Mhm.
you have to go back to work. You have to watch your kids. You have to do all, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, um, it's a challenge. It's a challenge for
Yeah,
sure.
100%,
Yeah,
100%.
yeah. But the main notes are just going to be like controlling what you can and not feeling bad about that,
Mhm.
and just seeking out like some of us don't really care for talking to people in authority or making phone calls or doing the communication thing, but that stuff can go such a long way.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
But as we kick off here, we're going to start talking about the airport. Well, really, packing is really where it starts.
Ooh yeah.
Yeah, it starts at packing. So, um, I actually was just DMing a friend about this the other day. She was packing a trip and she was like, "How do normal people, like neurotypical people, just like they just make a list and they just pack and they just do it and it's just done." And I was like, "Well, I find that my autism makes the list. Like on a day when I'm like excited about the trip, I will just like barf all the things on the paper and like categorize them and I'll get really nitty gritty and I'll even be able to think of like if I have to like emotionally put myself in the place
Oh my gosh, yeah.
and be like, what will I want when I'm on the beach and the breeze blows? Like, what will I want on my body? Because I started off with one cover up and I brought completely a different one and I definitely made the right choice because I first I picked on style. See, these are things you don't even have to think about. Aren't you so? And then I pack for you. So I don't emotionally pack for you. I emotionally pack for me because your sensory needs are significantly lower than mine.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, for
Significantly.
sure, for
You're
sure.
just like, cool, clothes, thanks, babe. Like
Yeah,
you're not
I
picky, which is like such a blessing because
and you know what? It's actually what's really interesting about it is I think I attribute my work to my grittiness.
oh, because you just have to.
Yeah, I
So do you
have.
think you're masking sensory?
I think I've just it's just exposure therapy. After
Oh.
22 years of just like small hairs falling on my body
Mm-hmm.
and my
Frank's a
hand.
barber,
I'm
y'all.
okay. I cut hair.
Yeah.
That would make a lot more sense to clarify that. I've been cutting hair for 22 years, and I grew up in barbershops my entire life. So I'm used to like having my hands being wet and then hairy. I should have done a trigger warning. I'm sorry. Uh, uh, and like with my hands with varying degrees of like tackiness depending on like hair product. So I'm the guy who gets called in for doing like the gross things in the house, the sticky, slimy situations, dirt
Mm-hmm.
situations. And I think probably did have some sort of sensory situation.
Mm-hmm. It was also in the fashion,
Yeah,
the
it was
cargo
also,
pants and
yeah,
Janko jeans of the day.
yeah, when I was wearing my Fred Durst inspired attire.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well, I wonder because you're actually very good at knowing the line where you're like, I need to wear gloves for this.
yeah, I do. I do. There is a moment where like, oh,
It's
this is it.
typically like bacon grease type of fat, like that
Yeah.
stuff you can't get off your hands.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But anyway, so getting
But I,
back to packing for sensory needs.
whoops, sorry.
No, no.
Yeah.
See, it's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah,
This is
yeah.
what this is for.
Yeah, I think there's a slant for a lot of neurodivergent people to already think situationally, like what you're going to find yourself in.
Mhm.
I think it's not uncommon for folks like yourself to imagine, what if? What if?
Right. Well, preparation is a way that we quell anxiety, but can also produce anxiety.
Ooh.
It's a kind of this double-edged
Mhm.
sword. So I actually had leading up to this trip because I was traveling alone. I had to have childcare set up for the kids, which you were most of it, which was great. And shout out to Jenna for
Oh,
helping out
big
via
shout
the
out.
seriously. It's so good to have people that your kids are like as comfortable with them as they are with you.
Mm.
So we're just blessed to have her just as a friend.
Oh, for sure.
And so that made it a lot easier. But I traveled by myself, and then and then my parents met me at the airport. So this was a girls' weekend in the Outer Banks of North Carolina, which is kind of a remote location, and usually we drive there. So I was freaking out about the transition between airport and islands. There's a 2 hour window there, and my I was worried I was gonna have to like rent a car. I didn't want to have to pull my sister away from like her guests to like make a 2 hour trip like at the end and like whatever. Well, then my parents ended up coming. It solved all the problems. So once that happened, there was a lot less overthinking about it. But so, but the stress you're carrying into a trip is going to affect how it hits you when the trip is over. And I
Mm.
think that's part of what I experienced was just like I I don't know why. Well, I do know why. It's because I this was the longest time I've ever been away from the family in 12 years, 5 days, which Don't judge me. Look, it's just what it is. And I'm leaving again. So I'm going to Italy in a couple months. That's gonna be crazy, but
I've got a question actually.
sure.
I remember when you got back, you were talking about your trip, right? And it was a lot of info dumping, and it was info dumping over and over again. There was a little bit of like
Mm-hmm.
circular stuff going on. And that's kind of when I knew I was like, oh, she's still on vacation.
Yeah.
Um, um, but what was interesting is first immediately your accent was different. Like you literally came in with your mom's accent. And then you had this weird southern draw thing, and I was like, "What in the world was that?" And then that's when you told me, I was like, "Yeah, I was talking to Kayla, yeah, the
The accent, yeah.
accent."
Half
And
the people in the house were from like South Carolina or Tennessee,
mhm,
and that is actually like that is like one of like the
mimicking.
yeah, that mimicking thing. It is an autism thing. I don't know why it is scientifically, but I'm telling you, like it is so difficult
Mhm.
to not pick up parts of people's accents.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And I think it's another thing kind of I
it
want to
just feels good.
yeah, I think it's the almost like a subconscious desire to fit in, like not to stand out, just to be not like the nail that's standing up.
Hmm.
And I think some of that might be um kind of like code switching, as sometimes it's called.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
I guess, but also it's like because you're enjoying what that person's putting out, it's
I
like
want to try it too.
yeah,
Yes,
it's
yeah.
kind of like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like
Hmm.
putting on like a fun piece of clothing.
Yeah, kind of.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it's like a complimentary thing. Like you're not going to copy the person that you're annoyed with in the room.
Oh yeah.
You
No,
know what I'm saying? It's
absolutely.
like
Yeah.
how like East
It-
Coasters are like, we're not going to make fun of you unless we
And
like you.
yeah, and actually on that note, I think it's also important to note that Carla is from the East Coast. We are living on the West Coast.
Hmm.
And whether you like it or not, cultures are just very different
Yeah, yeah.
between coasts. And I think you just had a little bit of cultural whiplash,
Yeah.
right? Um, because okay, I'm not saying one way of living is better than the other. Obviously, you can have a tremendously wonderful, fulfilling life in both the East Coast and the West Coast, no matter where you are. Um, but there are certain social expectations and certain like social cues that are a little more, I want to say, more strict on the East Coast than they are out west. That I think it takes a toll that I see you almost have to deprogram. You're almost like a little more rigid in
Well,
a sense.
right. Well, because all of those that culture is just based around not inconveniencing other people.
Hmm.
So like that's just the biggest difference I think. But yeah, but it's just like
Yeah.
learning other people. Like it wouldn't matter if it was like if I did the same trip with people from the West
Yeah.
Coast, it still would have been tiring because you're like I'm kind of like putting my little detectors out on everybody.
Hmm.
And my sister invited all these people, but like I tend to kind of hit like this cruise director type of personality
Hmm.
when there's more than like three people around. So there were four of us girls hanging out most of the time, but then when the guys are around, like when my parents are around, like I'm kind of like, how's everybody doing? Like, can we get somebody something? I used to live in this personality where I was always like the over the top. I was like the animaniac of the group. And like that still comes out, but it comes out in around people that I feel safe around. And I actually was surprisingly very comfortable with everybody on this
Yeah,
trip, which was like,
it sounded like the whole group was lovely.
yes, it
Like
was
really,
just
and
really kind
I think it's
people.
important to like qualify that. Yeah,
Yeah,
when I'm
yeah,
talking
yeah.
about oh this rigid sort of
It
lifestyle.
was just more about, it
No, no,
was
no, no,
more
no.
like the expectation. Like it was just
Hmm.
kind of like, I have to just be
Hmm.
prepared to be cool. Like I have to be cool. Like I
Hmm.
have to be okay. And but it was really fun and everyone was super kind and lovely and I did wear my headphones a couple times. There was one day when it was like a school cafeteria on the top floor where the kitchen is and I was like, "Yep, I'm just going to wear my headphones." And I just wore them and it was fine. Nobody like really did anything, but I don't know if I it was cool to just be like this is what I do. This is what I'm gonna
Mm.
do today. And I carried my earplugs around. Like the background noise of the ocean can get tiring for me. Um, yeah, so it was good. I feel like I did support myself when I needed it. After the first 2 days, I kind of retreated to my room for a while and like tried to take a nap and just kind of like was by myself for a little bit. So I did that, and that was good. And there wasn't a lot of peer pressure on this trip, but I did drink, which I don't drink very often. So there were 2 different days where like we're celebrating. My sister's getting married
Yeah.
over the summer, and um, but I get really bad anxiety rebounds from drinking. When you use a substance, whether that's like, if you use CBD or if you use alcohol or if you use nicotine or if you use even a lot of caffeine or even some supplements, like if you miss them, they process out of your system, and then there can be an after effect on your brain where you become more sensitive, a little more prone to like depressive or anxious feelings
Mhm.
until it's all the way out, until that inflammation goes away. So you have to bear in mind alcohol is sugar, so it's causing inflammation in your brain. That's the biggest reason that I don't use it most of
Mhm.
the time. Like
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
like a once a quarter drinking girl, and
Yeah.
yeah,
And it's also important to note that, like, alcohol is processed in the liver where most of all of your toxins are going to be
right.
processed anyway. So
Hmm.
you are overloading the factory that is the trash factory, so to speak, in the
Right.
body.
Yeah. So if you're already having inflammatory symptoms like gut symptoms, headaches, skin issues,
Yeah.
that's going to be even worse for you, most
Yeah.
likely.
Yeah. That's
So
why,
keep an eye out for that
you know,
on vacay.
I noticed that when I used to drink, that the days that I did drink like infrequently, I would get like eczema. Remember right in here
Hmm.
and right in here? I would get that a lot more when
Never
I was
correlated
drinking.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I now I'm just putting it back together.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy thinking about that. Yeah, we were talking briefly about like how do neurodivergent people get ready for flights, and we're talking about
Right.
packing. So
Hmm.
there is a bit more, let's say,
Vision casting for your trip.
research and vision casting.
Mm.
Like, um, you need to know what the weather's going to be like,
Hmm.
right? You need to actually
And
take care of
that
that.
was a mistake that I made.
Oh, gasp!
So I expected fully that it was going to be hot and humid there. And I forgot that usually when I've gone there in the past, it's been 2 to 3 months later in the year. And on top of that, it was unseasonably cold the week that we went. But we adapted. I had brought a little bit of spending money for myself, and there were outlets nearby. So on a particularly unpleasant, cold, rainy day, we all went shopping, and I was able to get a couple things that were a little warmer that I enjoyed and that were also a good price. So, in the past, typically I've been very rigid about spending money. So if that's a problem for you, make yourself a little vacation budget where like you
Oh
can
yeah,
spend, you know what
yeah,
I mean? Like
yeah.
I used to be like, I'm gonna bring all my snacks to the airport so I don't have to spend 20. Like, guess what? Like, I have realized that spending an extra $35 to check a bag so that I can bring my red light, so that I can bring my castor oil pack, so that I can bring my extra blanket or whatever it is worth it. If at the end of your trip you're so uncomfortable and you're just like, gosh, like I really missed my safety sweatshirt and I really wish that I brought an extra one because I couldn't do laundry on this trip. Like, you will not regret spending $35 on a trip that is a week long, right? Like think about it's like the way they do subscription. Oh, it's only like $1.63 a day. Like you have to think about it that way sometimes. And like if again, if getting a meal that is a little inordinately expensive, like once that's $20, even though you never pay that in another, like in my world, the airport is another dimension to me. All the rules
Yeah,
are different there, so you can't apply real rules to the airport because
yeah.
you're forced to be in the airport. So your meal is like part of your airplane ticket in my
Oh,
mind.
oh, for
So if you
sure.
can kind of like consolidate that and just be like, this spending is just part of me getting myself where I need to go.
Yeah, I think it's really important to uh yeah, it's like stadium rules. Conceptually like getting in your mind what it's going to be like so then you're more prepared for what is happening.
Right. More prepared and less emotionally dysregulated over it because
Yeah.
I would let myself get so emotionally dysregulated over spending a few extra dollars. And I just had to learn that there's just a time and place for it. In general, I am very frugal. I love a smoke and deal. I love a surprise at the thrift store, but like there's a time to spend money. Like I make those good choices most of the time so that I can splurge when I need to. I do that with my health as well. Most of the time, I'm very careful about it so that I can go on vacation and have a few glasses of champagne with my sister and my and her friends, like
Right. Yeah.
which are my friends now.
Yeah.
But
They're great. They're wonderful.
yeah.
Yeah, so if you could start like thinking about it in maybe if I could frame it this way, there are going to be moments in your travel, whether it's going to be
Mhm.
by plane, train, or automobile, that are going to give um, that are going to give you some, I suppose, what do we call them? Like um, expectation bottlenecks, right?
Mm.
Right, where your normal order of life isn't going to exactly be found. Uh, Period. To start conceptualizing what that bottleneck is going to be like, and start preparing yourself to when you find yourself, why am I paying $28 for a gluten-free
Yeah.
sandwich, right?
Yeah.
And you're like you don't just you have to learn how to like let that go.
You
And
know what I also was able to let go?
mm,
I paid $20 for something and then it tasted like nothing, but it had protein in it
wonderful,
and it had vegetables in it and it
wonderful.
filled my stomach. And I was like, you know what? Here I go. I'm just putting this in my body.
Mm.
I am notorious for like having to say out loud all the things that could be improved about a meal.
We should do more episodes in the morning. This is great.
Yeah, okay.
I'm having
Yeah,
a
yeah,
great
yeah,
time. I'm having a great
yeah.
time.
Cheers. Like,
Quickies. Yeah, and
so I was proud of myself for that actually. I didn't even tell you about it. Usually I'd be like, oh my gosh, Frank.
that's like my favorite, my most favorite humble brag.
It's not even humble.
Um, yeah, so a lot of it is preparing yourself for the travel. And
To be
we
clear, so when you say an expectation bottleneck, you mean like there may come a point where like
mhm. Yeah, you're
all
no
of the things that are different will kind of like hit you at once
yeah,
and
yeah.
you start to feel that
Yeah,
like you
it does
just
feel like you're just being squeezed a little bit. That's
hmm
when I know when I'm like feeling my tism, right? It
hmm
does feel a little crushing. It physically feels like I'm
yeah.
getting crushed, even
Uh-huh.
though I'm generally not restrained. But yeah, yeah, I get conceptualizing that, being prepared, a couple of days in advance, being preparing like what's the temperature going to be like. I love the fact that we can like look at pictures of places where we're going to be staying
Oh yeah,
or
I
routes.
was Googling like places I might be able to get a quick bite to eat, where are
Mhm.
the good coffee shops like
Mhm.
that are near me because we stayed in an area I've never stayed in before. I love doing that. Like I will do that too long if you let me.
Mhm.
So
But it does give you a little more comfort, a little more familiarity,
yes, exactly. Because
which is
then I know
important
going in, like, is there a good coffee shop nearby, or am I going to have to go immediately and find a store
to
that
find
has
coffee.
decent coffee that I can make at the, and I did both. Coffee was the thing I abused the most on the trip.
Yeah,
I
we're
love coffee. I
now
don't drink as much of it. This is mushroom coffee that we're drinking this morning.
mushrooms. You gotta have your
So I'm
mushrooms.
kind of working back off of the caffeine from last week,
Yeah,
but um yeah, so being prepared for that. And then again, I said that um my more autistic brain
yeah.
makes the list when I'm ready, when I'm like, ooh, like it's at a time when I get excited. So it's like ADHD and autism are always working together. So I'm fixated on the list. I'm very oriented on it. I really want to prepare because when I think through it and I comb through every all the details like a good solid time, it lowers the mental load that it carries like into the actual day. And then what I do is I have this list and I still tend to pack it the last minute. I still tend to delay it very heavily. So to cut down on laundry, I will pack most of it, but if I can keep in mind that I'm always going to be washing like one thing at the last minute, because sometimes having the right couple pairs of socks for the week or having the right sweatshirt will really like make the difference. Like I will even picture like the color, like if I can close my eyes or like sometimes this is just I don't know, this is just a me thing, but sometimes I can like picture whether like it feels like it has happened already. It's like this very like cross-dimensional like weird like thing that matters to me somehow where I'm just like can I picture whether this is actually like is this part of my life? Is it like when I buy things I'll have to sit there and picture like can I picture me wearing this color? I bought 3 of the same shirt on my trip, 3 different colors. I had to think like very carefully about like how they would look with like different things that I had and like what they would vibe together and could I picture this color actually yeah and that's how I made my selections. It wasn't really based on what I was initially attracted to. It was just like okay, I know I want these. I know I want 3 because they're so nice. They were 100% cotton, very nice comfy button ups. I also got this shirt. I'm calling this my Diane Keaton shirt. It's a very boxy, neutral, unflattering shirt. Made of natural fibers. It's great. So anyway,
Yeah. And remember, vacation is generally vacations are to have fun.
right, but
Yeah, yeah.
but the conflation of rest and fun is dangerous. And so you as a neurodivergent person or you as someone traveling with neurodivergent people need to keep a sharp eye out for the fact that you are going to need just like when you're working, you're going to need times where you go and times where you stop to fill up. So if you're a person that really only rests when you're alone, so I said on my 3rd day I needed to go and be alone, be by myself, and that helped me a lot. So you need to know, like, if you start to feel a little overwhelmed, is it sitting with headphones and listening to an audiobook for a while? Is it, and it depends on where you're going, right? Like, you might not have as many options to retreat. Like, if you're taking, like, um, I would strongly discourage anybody who's neurodivergent taking one of those like those European trips. I'm sure they have them in other places too, though, where you take like excursions with like a busload of other people and it's like on time and you have to do all the things in the day. That's like my nightmare. Like to not have an escape route and to have to be around like in the group the whole time. Like school field trips are like put yourself back there for 2 seconds and you either went or like oh cool yeah field trip. No, field trips were stressful. Everyone's got to get in the group. This one goes here first. This one goes there first. Because what happens? You end up being the person who pays attention to everything because you don't want to get lost. I got lost in an amusement park one time. I thought my life was going to end. It was awful because I was on a field trip and my Girl Scout troop was at Hershey Park the same time that my school was, and I tried to go from a school group to a Girl Scout group, and somebody took their eye off the ball, including me, at age 10 or 11. I think I was in like 5th or 6th grade. And I ended up at the Lost Children's Caboose. My mom is cracking up laughing right now. The Lost Children, there's a picture. I still have a picture of me in front of the Lost Children's Caboose in my pink, orange, and lime green plaid short overalls from the Children's Place.
The first time I've ever heard the story.
Yeah, well, you just heard it.
Well, I learn something new every day about you,
I
Carla.
know. There's so much to learn. There's so much
Oh,
shmam packed
there
inside
is
this
so
brain.
much. There
Yeah.
is so much. Yeah.
So all that so you're seeing how we're bringing our past experiences into our times that are supposed to be fun and relaxing.
Hmm.
So the more we can neutralize those things, so like sometimes I just have to talk myself through and just be like, okay, like I'm going on an airplane by myself. Like I can either be stressed until I get there because I haven't quote unquote started my vacation, or we've kind of started saying when we leave the house, we're on vacation. So if we have the time and we want to make a little stop at the airport, or if we want to like goof around and have fun, if the kids want to like start, you know what I mean? It's like if it is something that is doable, like try to like keep the mentality like I'm trying to relax now. So when I'm on the airplane, like I want to be warm. I want to be like in things that are soft. I don't care how I look at the airport. I'm going to be sleeping, staring out a window, staring at a screen most of the time. And if I smile and I'm kind, I will still get a soda, a cup of water. You will not get a gluten-free snack, probably, because most airlines don't even have them. So don't hold your breath on that. Bring your own snacks. But yeah, like stop planning your wardrobe and all those things based on what other people are going to think. Stop not wearing your headphones or your earplugs because you don't want people to ask you about them. Just do it.
Yeah. Yeah. On that note, they do offer a lot of sensory sensitive experiences in a lot of places that you're going. I know if you're going to like a national park, or if you're going to like something like the San Diego Zoo or a theme park, a lot of times they have these sensory sensitive experiences that they may offer that you might have to like maybe make a call
Call out
or
and
check.
ask.
A lot of them do. I know we just found out that a lot of airlines do offer some accommodations for
Yeah,
folks with
let me read the list.
yeah, with autism. I think one of them, what was it?
So there was Emirates. Emirates is the first autism certified airline with over 30,000 cabin crew and ground staff undergoing specialized training.
Mhm.
Um, so they plan to introduce digital sensory guides and in-flight sensory products to assist passengers with autism and sensory sensitivities. I thought that was very cool. Delta Airlines has multi-sensory rooms at a few airports: Atlanta, LaGuardia, Seattle, and San Diego, actually, where we are. So did not know that. They provide calming environments with soothing colors and sounds. JetBlue has autism friendly services offering sensory kits and pre flight resources. They also train their staff to support passengers with autism, which is great. Southwest Airlines offers sensory friendly accommodations. They have some pre flight resources and the option to request specific seating. American Airlines has sensory kits as well. Their staff are trained to assist passengers with autism, focusing on accommodating neurodiverse travelers. And then United has a children's travel kit that includes a sensory calming strip.
Mhm.
You can request this kit from a flight attendant. And of course, some flights are better than others.
Mhm.
So definitely need to know in advance what you can expect and then what would be maybe a bonus. And then also there's this really interesting organization called Wings for Autism. You can look it up if you have kids or high support needs travelers. It says this program offers airport rehearsals for individuals with autism and other intellectual and developmental disabilities. Participants can practice the entire airport experience from check-in to boarding in a controlled environment, which I think is really cool
Mhm.
because TSA is kind of alarming.
You can
The
be.
first time that you do it, you're like, why are there police officers here and why do I have to take my shoes off? And, there's just there's a lot of questions. So I think that's a really cool, like kind option that is starting to be offered. So yeah, so just look into stuff in advance. Bring your sensory supports to the airport.
Mhm.
Anything that at the end of a long day, like you'd be like, oh, I'm so glad I don't have to do blank anymore. I'm so glad I don't have to wear blank anymore. Don't wear it.
Mhm. Wear comfy socks.
I wore my flip flops, but I put socks in my bag so that on the plane
Mhm.
I could flip off my flip flops and put my socks on and be comfortable. So just little things like that. Bring your headphones, get some loop earplugs. I would highly suggest Loop makes a chain, but also you can just get they make these silicone things where you can stretch it over the earplug, and it's like the grandma thing for your glasses that goes around your neck,
Hmm.
but it's for your earplugs because I've lost more than one loop earplug and then had to get I'm on like my third or fourth pair. So, but that has saved me a lot of trouble. So, highly recommend you get one of those little granny chains that you can fall asleep with them in. And if they fall out, you're not panicking when you wake up. That saves me a lot of stress. And just drink a lot of water. Drink as much water as you can,
Stay
like more water
hydrated.
than you think.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, just try to keep it as true to you as you can. If
Hmm.
you can, like, if you don't suspend your wants and needs for a whole day, you'll be able to enjoy yourself
Hmm.
more quickly and easily once you get there.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, but I will say that just from being even in a very pleasant environment, a new environment, with new people, um, a different bed, like I didn't have my snuggle buddy, which is you, not Pippin. Anyway, so Pippin is a squishmallow that my children bought me for my birthday 2 years ago. And even with all of that, I ate good food, all the things. I still came home and I was not myself for 4 entire days, which was really frustrating to me. And as Frank mentioned earlier, typically in the past, I would just be like, I got to get back to work because even this time I felt guilty upon coming back. Um, Even though there's no reason for that. And actually, feeling guilty actually makes the people who did the work for you feel more irritated, not less irritated. Nobody wants to know that you feel bad for doing the thing that they helped you execute. So that's wasted energy. That's it right there. So thank you for all of your efforts and thank you for being like just kind and patient with me these last few days. I didn't want to sit next to Frank. I didn't want to hug him. I didn't want to make eye contact with him. Like, I was so fried and I was so upset with myself that I was fried, like, because I wanted to come home and embrace my children and just feel the refreshment of, like, like, oh, this is, I had my break and now I'm ready. And it was just like, I was not ready. I was not ready. And I tried to jump in and start doing craft projects. And so I used this metaphor and I think it was the right one. So coming back from a situation where you're a little bit fried, and this was an interesting one for me because I would not say I got burnout. I would not say that I melted down when I got home necessarily. I did melt down, but the state that I was in was like I was just kind of very stretched in ways that like I could not perceive until I wasn't in that environment anymore.
It was like you were raw.
Yes,
Hmm.
exactly.
Hmm.
So how I kind of put this together mentally for myself was like it was like the ceiling was right over my head. And if I didn't either sit down or move real slow, I was going to hit my head on the ceiling. And then upon hitting my head on the ceiling, it would almost make it feel lower. And then you're responding, right? And you're kind of flailing because it hurts.
Hmm.
And so, but the longer I was able to be patient and just kind of like drink water, I slept 12 hours 2 nights in a row when I got back, 3 nights in a row when I got back. Because I got home, the first night I got home, I actually woke up. That was more like 10 hours, but the 2 days after that, after I realized how tired I was, I slept 12 hours both nights. I passed out at like 8:30 at night. But the ceiling starts to get a little higher so that like, I could start moving a little bit more. But if you run and jump too soon, you're gonna hit your head. And so just again, just be patient. And the hardest thing for me to learn, and I really learned this during my chronic illness journey, was that anxiety and depression that comes, that feeling of that It's not actually like depression in the clinical sense, but it's the depressive feelings that you can get after something that's fun is actually just an energy rebound.
Hmm.
You're paying the piper. So essentially anytime you overspend your energy, where you get to the point in your day and you're like, I really have to push through this. If you're saying to yourself, once I push through this, I'm done. If you're pushing through anything, you're going to pay the piper tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah. Somewhere down the line, you're gonna have
Yeah.
to really consider self-care because you're going to be running at some sort of deficit, whether it is like of
Yes.
comfort, of safety, of energy. Like those
Hmm.
are very different.
Yeah.
And when not kind of thinking about that and what we were talking about a little earlier, when you do kind of run into those sort of bottlenecks of expectations or comfort or this or that, just know if you run into those, okay, just try to make a mental note like, all right, this is going to be a day of rest
Hmm.
somewhere down the line. This is going to be a day of me knitting down the line. This is going to be a day of me like whatever it is that you recuperate with, actually recuperate, not just like do because you want to do it and you like it. You're going to force yourself
Right.
doing
See,
something.
if I knitted while I was trying to rest, I would make myself more tired. Like
Mhm.
that's the most frustrating thing about recuperating for me is I have to literally, not figuratively do nothing. I have to actually do nothing. I am like laying on my bed,
Staring at the
like
ceiling.
actively trying to not move and actively trying to shut my brain off
Mhm.
because the more that I do that, the more that I like if I'm humming on stuff in the background, I'm not really going to recover as well. And that's the hardest part is like day one I was like, okay, I realize now that I'm not okay. I did cry. I cried a couple of times from like the sheer like just it like life felt like an insufferable pile like in the morning, and that's why I was like, oh no, this is not okay. But what I've learned is that that feeling goes away. It reliably goes away, but it is so hard, especially when you're just learning that you're neurodivergent, to trust that idea because you've felt
Mhm.
like that for so long. I want you to know I see you, that that's the reason why many times uh depression medication, anxiety medication does not work as well on a neurodivergent brain because you're not actually classically clinically depressed. You're running at a deficit.
Mhm.
So I would challenge you, what if you have a week that's not very high pressure, to like sit and like Ricky Bobby it and just be like, I don't know what to do with my hands, and just sit there as long as you can until the desire to do things returns to your body.
Yeah.
To not say, okay, I should try to do something now, or I really should, like being able to feel what that feels like and to know that like your body isn't actually confined to a permanent state of depression is that is one of the biggest reliefs like ever.
Mhm.
That really is like a huge part of the mission of my work is just to help people realize that like they don't have to be in a constant state of stress, and that they're not, again, they're not confined to permanent anxiety and depression. It's just we have to realize at what point is our load of activity, our mental load contributing to that. And then we can see clearly what needs to be done after that.
Mhm.
It's just a lot easier when we're kind and gentle to ourselves. So remember, fun and rest are not the same. So after you have fun, you're going to need to rest.
Mhm.
So even if you can't like take another week off to rest, don't plan anything the week you come back from vacation.
Mhm.
Don't be like, oh, sure, I can watch your kids as soon as I'm back. Don't say that. Oh, sure, yeah, we'll go do a beach day as soon as I'm back. No, you're not going to do that. No, no. We'll clean the whole house as soon as they get back. No,
No.
no, no. Mm-mm. That's another thing. The more you can do in your house, like if you can, that's really the thing you should plan the most is how can you get your house in order to the point where like you can come back and be like, oh, this is so nice. And then you don't feel the pressure to do all the stuff when you come back.
Oh, yeah.
So if you break it up into little bits the 2 weeks before, like there's a lot of executive function, there's a lot of practice, there's a lot of trial and error in this. But when we go on a trip, we try, not usually successfully. Usually it's like a 70-30, right? Like there's always going to be a pile of unfolded laundry. We'll try not to leave dishes, but there might be a couple. Um, and throw the trash at the end of the driveway. But like, you know, do what you can, and you just gotta
Hmm.
try not to worry about the rest. Because really, worrying about the rest is even more detrimental than just handling the rest in a
Mm.
way that suits you. Also, like, bear in mind, noisy restaurants, amusement parks, crowded airports. Also, hot tip, when you're getting in line for the airline, everyone's going to get on the plane. Stay away from the people as long as you can. You know what I did this time? I actually wandered into the nearest shop and I read magazines because nobody was in there. I flipped through a couple of magazines until it got to like zone 6 because everyone's in zone 8. I don't know who you people are out there that are in zones 3 and 4. I don't know you. I might not be real. Just avatars getting on the plane in zone 3 and zone 4. We all know the credit card people get on first, but like those people in the middle. Are those the people that pay to select their seat? Is that who they are? First of all, who pays to select their seat? That's all I'm saying. Who does that? That's a waste of money. They're going to give you a seat. Anyway. Anyway.
They travel in a way where you recognize and remember that on those moments where the unforeseen happens and something um, absolutely grating actually happens to you, know that God is there with you. Maybe that time that you have when you get back home, completely depleted from an vacation, which has never happened in the history of man, right? Um, Maybe that time is purposeful for you to slow down, to recognize your humanity, and to accept and be with God in just the most mundane way, to
Hmm.
rest and recuperate in the hands of God.
It just means that whatever you think it's the right time for, it's just not yet, and that's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And I would say pray up, especially the week before
Mm.
you leave. Pray that your flight attendants have a great night's sleep before they get there. Pray that all the people on the plane feel at ease and that they're not in a rush and that they have travel mercies just like you. Like,
Sure.
yeah. And then because when you're there, when you're on that day of, like, you're probably not going to be as mentally present because you need
Yeah.
look, and you don't need to be looking for people in distress at the airport. You can just focus on yourself.
Hmm.
I have in the past, like, I it's just it's part of who I am, but also like I think in the past I have like tried to solve everybody's problems everywhere I go. Like
Mm.
if I see, I mean, and it's one thing if it's like somebody dropped their pocketbook and you can pick it up for them. Obviously, it'd be an old lady because I just called it a pocketbook. Like you don't have to be unhelpful, but also like your responsibility is getting you from A to B,
Hmm.
unless God taps you on the shoulder. You don't have to,
Hmm.
do all that.
Yeah.
So, but try to have fun and then try to rest.
Mhm.
Remember, the two are different, and that doesn't mean that you're broken. It just means that
Do you
you
think
got to
that's
do it
why
differently.
they call it R and R? Rest
Rest
and
and relaxation?
relaxation?
Mm, maybe.
Huh. Maybe they were onto something before they. Wow. I'm just like blown away by that, actually.
So, is the relaxing the fun part? Because the things like people say vacation, it's like there's like people say there's like a difference between like a vacation and a trip.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, there is.
yeah,
There is.
yeah. But travel safe, have fun,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
yeah, be nice to yourself when you get back. You gotta know yourself a little
Hmm.
bit so you can be nice to yourself and nice to others when you get back. That's it.
But,
Happy trails.
travel well pod people.
Don't burst into flames on the airplane. You
Don't do
should
it. Don't crash and burn.
turn and don't say bomb at TSA.
Oh my gosh. Please, please don't do that. Don't say bomb or gun or plastic explosives.
What do you mean? I used to have a bad habit of accidentally saying stuff like that. I didn't know it was illegal. I didn't actually know.
Mhm.
You can't say bomb on an airplane.
No.
Meet the parents scene. So good. Yeah, well, one time I was carrying. Oh, they were okay. There were two. One I had a baby, and they tested my hands, and I was like, "Why are you testing my hands?" Because I have a. And it was like, I was like, "Do people like pretend that they're a baby or that they're carrying a baby, but it's really a bomb?" And they kind of looked at me and kind of like shook their head, and I was like, "Oh, oh!" I was like completely flabbergasted. I was like, "Okay." I was like, "Gosh, babe, did you know that?" And she's like, "Shh, quiet." And then another time we brought homemade Play-Doh in our carry-on and they had to test that. And I was like, oh, do you think that it might be plastic explosives? And they were like, yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
it could be.
and then, yeah, Frank began having very explicit conversations with me about how I should not say anything about anything that goes boom in that area of the airport.
Hmm.
Really, any area of the airport.
Yeah, yeah,
Live and learn.
yep. So
I'm a delight to travel with.
you really are. Yeah.
I'm either screaming inside or screaming outside.
Either way, somebody's screaming.
That.
Yeah, for sure.
Now the Fire Embrace the Spice, Neurospicy Soul Care Coaching available.
Yep.
Click the links,
Also,
review the things, put the stars.
yeah.
Have fun.
Thank you. Enjoy.
Peace be with you.